Welcome to today's legal case breakdown. We'll be discussing the case of Kotla Venkataswamy versus Chinta Ramamurthy in the year 1934. We'll be highlighting critical principles in the corporate law in respective to the case, which are the Articles of Association, in Doctrine of Indoor Management, and Doctrine of Constructive Notice. With the introduction, I'll start. In corporate law, the Articles of Association serves as a fundamental document that defines the internal rules and regulations governing a company. This article outlines the procedures for executing legal instruments such as deeds, hundies, checks. If these procedures are not followed, any document executed in the violation of AOA will be deemed invalid. This case revolves around whether a mortgage deed executed without proper authorization under the AOA could be legally enforced against the company or not. Facts of the case. The case originated when the plaintiff, Kotla Venkataswamy, filed a suit to enforce a mortgage bond worth Rs 1,000. This bond has been initially executed in favor of an individual named Venkama, who later transferred her rights to the plaintiff. However, the mortgage deed was signed only by the secretary and the working director of the company, but not by the managing director as required by the company's Articles of Association. Meanwhile, the company, South Indian Agriculture and Industrial Improvement Co. Limited, underwent liquidation, and the mortgage property was sold to another individual referred to as Defendant 4. The key legal question was whether this mortgage bond was validly executed and whether the company could be held liable for it. The issue involved here is that the court was the mortgage deed validly executed in accordance with the Articles of Association, thereby making the company liable or not. So, court's observation. The court carefully examined the execution of the mortgage deed and made the following key observations. First, the court noted that the deed was not signed by the managing director as required by the Article 15 of the company's AOA. Second, the company's representatives argued that the managing director had been dismissed and was under criminal prosecution at the time of execution. However, the court ruled that his absence did not automatically validate the execution by the remaining two officers. Third, the court clarified the power to execute such deeds must reside in the board of directors as a whole unless explicitly delegated. So, the corporate law doctrine applied here are first of all doctrine of constructive notice. The court also applied the doctrine of constructive notice, which states that any party dealing with a company is presumed to have read and understood its Articles of Association. Since the AOA clearly stated that three officers, managing director, secretary, and working director, must sign the deed, the mortgagee plaintiff should have been aware of this requirement before accepting the bond. Thus, the court ruled that the plaintiff could not claim ignorance and was expected to have known that the deed was improperly executed. Doctrine of Indoor Management. However, in some cases, the court applied the doctrine of indoor management, which protects outsiders who rely on companies' internal decisions in good faith. This doctrine ensures that the third parties are not unduly burdened with the verifying internal procedures. In this case, however, the court refused to apply this doctrine because the irregularity was clearly visible on the face of the document. Since the plaintiff had the constructive notice of AOA's requirements, they could not claim protection under the doctrine of indoor management. So, the final judgment, after considering this legal principles, the court reached the following final decision. The mortgage deed was invalid as it was not executed in the compliance with the Articles of Association. The secretary and the working director alone were not legally competent to sign the mortgage deed. The plaintiff could not recover under the mortgage bond due to the doctrine of constructive notice. The company was not held liable and the plaintiff's appeal was dismissed. Legal takeaways. This case highlights important corporate law principles that are still relevant today. Articles of associations are legally binding and must be followed when executing the company documents. Doctrine of constructive notice places responsibility on external parties to be aware of a company's internal rules. The doctrine of window management does not apply if irregularities are apparent on the face of the transaction. Failure to comply with the internal regulations can render transactions void, even if entered into good faith. This case serves as a cautionary tale for businesses and investors to carefully verify corporate compliance before entering into final transactions. That wraps up today's case breakdown. If you found this analysis helpful, don't forget to like, subscribe this channel and share the video with your friends. Thank you for watching. Have a good day.